I love church. We are back again. I know it's online. I feel like there's some momentum that God is building with
Yeah.
the summit. So please pray for the leaders that are present, and they're not just I believe local. They're essentially also partners and leaders from across the globe.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but we're excited about being a part of this move of God here in Chino Hills until the ends of the earth.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a lot of good friends
Man,
that are
so
coming
good.
out, and we haven't seen them for a while.
Right.
But pray for us. Pray for your cell group leaders, the huddle people. We're all here. We're basically dreaming, listening to one another, seeing what God is doing
Amen.
across the world, and seeing how we could partner with one another to birth communities,
Right.
do what we do best,
Right.
what God called us to do.
Right. And one of the things that your dad was saying out specifically tonight
Mhm.
was this idea of what does it mean to be a true disciple? And a true disciple will always essentially produce churches.
Mm.
And true disciples have
Yeah.
a very distinct way of living.
It's true.
And that's what we've been talking about, right? Especially
Yes.
within this whole entire year, essentially is how do you practice the way of Jesus? How do you essentially become an apprentice? And this is a lost and dying art,
Yeah.
being an apprentice of someone, right? I mean, we've heard of being a student, going to school at
Yeah.
a specific time from a specific teacher, and once you're dismissed from that school, it's done. But
Right.
being an apprentice is a little different. Now,
Yeah.
can you touch on that just a little bit?
Yeah, it's like, well, how do I actually follow Jesus?
Right.
Because the 12 disciples had the physical Jesus.
Right.
Now, where's Jesus?
Right.
So we learn that the way we follow him
Mhm.
is we live in his presence.
Right.
That means that he is present in our life, and
Right.
we abide or make our home in
Right.
him. And so that's through engaging God,
Right.
through prayer, through listening to him, through being led by him in a daily basis. But to make it really practical, you need practices that actually connect you to the way of Jesus.
Right. Right.
Because the life of Jesus is it's really a day-to-day thing,
it's a grind.
right?
Yeah.
So that means if you want to have the life of Jesus, you got to adopt his lifestyle.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's how we do it.
Right.
And that's why we've been in this Sabbath practice. And
Yeah.
this is a very countercultural
Yeah.
practice because
Yeah.
we don't stop as we
That's
learn. We don't rest as
Right.
we learn. And we expect we're just going to grow spiritually, but we're going to be like super anxious, super tired, super busy. And somehow, some way, we're going to be transformed to be more like Jesus.
Right.
In my personal opinion, that is not the case.
No.
Right.
It doesn't happen like that. I feel like one of the things that Jesus says, listen, if you want to be my disciple, he said it like this. If you want to be my disciple, if you want to be my apprentice, he lays it like this. You ready? This is how you do it.
Mm.
Deny yourself.
Yeah.
When you think about that, I think every American hears that. He goes, well, tell me the good stuff. Tell me what's
Right.
in it for me. Jesus says, no, it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
You want to follow me or you want to follow you?
Right.
And I think that's a very hefty question that we need to answer, every single one of us. If we say that we are an apprentice of Jesus, then we follow our master.
Right.
And essentially, Jesus lays out this discipline in his own life that he talks about actually in Matthew 5, 6, and 7. And part of the training or the denying yourself, what is that practical application of it, right?
Mhm.
And one of the things that we've been talking about is Sabbath.
Yeah.
And Sabbath revolves around 4 important keywords that we've been touching. The first one is stop.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even know how to do that. Okay, how to stop, right? And then the
Right.
second one is to rest. What's
Yeah.
that? Taking naps. What is rest? Because I think we're mistaking sleep with rest.
Right.
And to rest is not just a matter of going to sleep and closing your eyes, but rest, we're learning, is so much more than that. It's so much more deeper than that. The following after that is learning how to delight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've lost how to do this, how
Yeah.
to delight in life, how to delight. And listen, the disciples or the followers of Jesus in those days, they had to learn to delight not only in the good times when Jesus was there, but when Jesus was crucified and when Jesus died and their hope was completely dashed.
Yeah.
And seeing Jesus rose up from the dead, they celebrate again, but then he ascended.
Right.
They had to learn to delight in the midst of confusion, in the
Mhm.
midst of they don't know what to do, in the midst of essentially life goes on, right? Learning to delight in everything. And of course, learning how to worship. Those are the four key words. But today, specifically, we just want to kind of review again on these two words, stop and rest,
Yeah.
real quickly. And just a thought for every single one of you to think about this entire week.
Yeah. We've been challenging you to make space in your life, whether
Yeah.
it is 2 hours, whether it is half a day, whether it's a full day. How are you guys doing with that?
Right.
If you haven't taken the challenge, we want to challenge you again. Take it, because it's not the teaching, it's the practice that really bring the life of Jesus
Right.
into our body.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think Sabbath is so challenging
It is.
because you actually need to do something.
Right.
And you're like, wait a minute, like we're stopping, we're not doing anything. Like, man, this is so weird. This is so different. This is not my rhythm. This is not my personality.
This doesn't feel productive.
Right.
Right.
But something happened in our soul when we actually take the time to do that. It changes you from the inside. It creates space in your marriage. It creates space in your families. Things that you never talk about, suddenly you got to talk about.
It comes out.
You know, there's another term that we're going to talk about. It's called the Sabbath sadness.
Ooh.
The Sabbath sadness is when you start realizing there are things in your life that you never dealt through, or your body never detoxed through some sort of like emotional roller coasters, traumas, grief, things that God actually wants you to sit through with Him, not to run away like we usually do when we Netflix, right? But God actually wants us to go through it with Him.
Yeah.
And that's why I find a lot of people that never make space in their life, they're having a hard time to pray.
Yep, it's true.
Me, I'm talking about, not someone else.
Yeah.
And
Only him.
Right, only me. And what makes it so impossible is because we never create intentional space for God anymore.
Right.
In our schedule,
Right.
in our life.
Right.
And it makes prayer become so two-dimensional.
Right.
Some of us become just so skeptical about talking with God and how it works,
Right.
you know. But I find that there is a new desire when I get to sit, not doing anything, not performing, not
Yeah.
trying to please
It's
anybody. Like, you're basically saying, God, you see me in my just this.
Yeah.
Like, nothing
the way I am.
impressive.
Right.
Like, I'm not producing anything.
Right.
I'm not saving souls right now.
Right.
I'm not working. Like, I'm just sitting.
Yeah.
And in that moment, that's where real transformation can happen.
That's true. I think for me, man, like learning to allow myself a space to be seen, to be heard by God, to be known by God. It's like the rest that my soul needs.
Yeah.
Because, I'm constantly trying to prove myself a lot of times
Right.
without me even realizing, right?
Yeah.
That's why we perform. That's why we do things in the world that we're living in right now.
Mhm.
But Sabbath is it is an act of resistance.
Yeah, that's a good
That's what
word.
we were learning right last week. It is an act of how is Sabbath an act of resistance? Well, the whole world system is based on performance and based on go, 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 go. For you to say that I am loved by God.
Yeah.
For you to sit in that. And the truth is, we know this theologically, we know this intellectually. I am loved by God. But have you ever allowed yourself to sit, maybe in facing your grief, your anger, your disappointment, your judgments, everything that you're facing, and allowing God to love on you in that moment and in that space? It's very, very hard to do.
Yeah.
But if we never make space to do it, you will continue to exhaust your soul to the point where you just want to give up on life. We need Sabbath desperately. I need Sabbath desperately. And I'm still trying to figure it out.
Right.
Because it is true. It is an act of resistance against the system of the world. Because Sabbath, what I'm learning, is God's system.
Yeah.
It is God's system to reset you. It is God's system to recenter you. It
That's
is
good.
God's system to refocus you on the right direction. I think we all need that.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
again, we're challenging you. The challenge is to sit, Sabbath, do something that is restful for you, to stop. And we're going to talk a little bit more. What
Yeah.
does that look like? Because Sabbath is not a 24 hours Bible study
No.
or playing Bethel music record until kingdom come. But it's actually, there's a lot of things that God created that is so life-giving.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So excited for you to practice.
Yes.
And we will see you next Saturday.
Absolutely. Love you guys.